Ah, Christmas. The most wonderful time of the year. Especially if you're a fan of spaceflight, because for us here in the UK, Christmas came early this year, with the news that Saxavord Spaceport has been granted its operator's license by the Civil Aviation Authority. Yes, this is the big one. So, hold on to your Santa hats, and let's dive right in.
All Roger, liftoff and the clock has started.
Welcome to UK Space News, I'm Tom June, and before we go on, if you want to stay up to date with all the goings on from the UK space industry and beyond, then hit that subscribe button and follow me on X, because if you're talking about UK space stuff, then most probably, so am I. Now, on with the news. Sunday, 17th of December 2023 will forever be marked as a good day, because the long-awaited Spaceport Operator's License was finally gift-wrapped and delivered to Saxavord Spaceport in time for Christmas. Honestly, that's the last Christmas pun I'll be doing. With all the negativity in recent months surrounding the build status, contractors not being paid, and an apparent financial crisis, combined with High Impulse moving their maiden launch of the SR-75 all the way to the other side of the world, it may have seemed hard to keep faith that things would turn a corner at Saxavord. But after 3 long years, and with launches just months away, Saxavord is now a bona fide licensed spaceport. Much of the headlines have said it's the UK's first vertical launch spaceport, but that little title technically goes to SatVu, who were launching sounding rockets all the way back in the 1960s with the Petrel and Skua. Saxavord is, however, the first site capable of hosting orbital-class vertical launches and has the remit to oversee up to 30 launches per year. With 3 launch pads in the making, Callum, the largest Elizabeth, and the nearly completed Fredo, that means a potential of 10 launches per pad per year, or 1 every month and a bit. With Rocket Factory Augsburg, High Impulse, Skyrora, and Lockheed Martin already waiting in the wings to fly, plus interest from JAXA and Rocket Lab, we can now start to imagine a future right here in Scotland with regular rocket launches. Not only that, but a crucial question for me has also been answered. As I mentioned in my previous video, there was a question whether the launch stool at Pad Fredo would be complemented by a launch tower, or whether they would use cranes, perhaps temporarily. Well, it's now been confirmed that a tower will indeed be constructed, and the foundations for that have been laid. That makes perfect sense given the launch stool's height off the ground, and with Shetland being exposed to the sea winds. After much speculation about finances too, it was announced that RFA received a funding boost of £3.5 million to accelerate their launch plans, and a good portion of that will be used to help further develop the ground facilities at Fredo. After all, RFA have exclusive use of the launch pad and have previously funded it to build the launch stool. So I would expect the launch support tower to go up fairly quickly ahead of their maiden launch in Q1 of 2024. In further funding news, High Impulse were also awarded £3.4 million via the UK Space Agency and ESA's Boost programme. That funding will be put towards their hybrid propulsion test programme, which includes flights of the SR-75 and development of their larger SL-1 orbital launcher, also due to launch from Saxavord. High Impulse have partnered with Carbon Launch Systems to manufacture carbon fibre liquid oxygen tanks for the SL-1, providing yet another boost to the UK space sector and strengthening these amazing European partnerships. So, all in all, the news around Saxavord as we head into 2024 is finally back into a positive state, and I for one can't wait to head there and start covering, actual rocket launches for you all from next year. Speaking of funding, as part of that previously mentioned funding round, Orbex were awarded £3.3 million to help develop the Sutherland Spaceport, with a particular focus on environmental sustainability. Orbex recently took the unusual step of altering the design to the site, with concern from locals about the impact it will have on the natural peatlands that surround it. This peatland is home to an array of wildlife, and concerns exist about the overall footprint causing extensive disturbance to the area. In particular, Orbex are looking to move their antenna array, crucial for tracking and monitoring vehicle launches, from the site itself to the top of nearby mountain Ben Tung. That will inevitably mean that they'll have to work on improving access roads up the mountain, which will of course have an impact from construction work. It's very much the rock and hard place scenario. Not only that, but Orbex also want to move the main access road to the site in order to avoid deeper areas of peat and minimise the impact to surrounding water crossings. Ahead of the planned changes, Orbex are holding a further 2 public consultations, with one having taken place on December the 5th and the next one scheduled for January 18th, ensuring the local community is kept fully up to date and supports their endeavours. Orbex also announced that John Bowen has been appointed as their new Chief Commercial Officer. He's over 20 years' experience in the space sector and was recently the chair of the Northeast Space Leadership Group. His role will be to drive forward Orbex's commercial side and build on their progress of the Orbex Prime rocket. Finally, from them, do head on over to their social media channels because they have released the next part in their Road to Space series of videos. Go and check it out, it's pretty cool. In somewhat less positive news, remember SatVu's HotSat-1, the high-resolution infrared thermal imaging satellite built by SSTL and operated by SatVu, which was launched in June of this year. And back in October, it began sending the first images captured by the onboard instruments, which was showcased in my last video. Well, just last week it was announced that the onboard camera had suffered a failure, and while contact was still being maintained with the spacecraft, it was now effectively inoperable, and they don't expect normal operations to be restored. There's no word yet on what caused the failure, but it's safe to say that this innovative satellite showcased what it could do in a short space of time. SatVu actually have the next satellite, HotSat-2, just about ready to go, and discussions are ongoing to accelerate the launch of this, which was originally planned for 2025, when HotSat-1 was anticipated to actually stop working. This is much like the early days of telecommunications satellites, which would be in orbit for a couple of years before they stopped transmitting. So, while this may seem doom and gloom for SatVu, actually, if we think about it as a test platform, it worked pretty darn well. SatVu are also planning a constellation of up to 8 HotSats to provide the world with crucial thermal monitoring capabilities. For now, they'll be working with SSTL to identify the cause of the failure and remedy any changes needed for the next iteration. Back on December the 1st, SpaceX launched a Korean spy satellite into orbit, while also carrying Ireland's first satellite, the AirSat-1, built by students at University College Dublin. Also along for the ride were 4 small satellites from Alba Orbital, including 3 of the Unicorn class and another of the 2P class. All blasted off from Vandenberg in California, carried by Booster 1061 on its 17th flight, which previously launched 7 Starlink missions, 2 crewed missions, CRS-23 and others. It's been a great year for Alba Orbital, with more Pocket Cubes launched than ever before. Not only that, but the satellites launched on their previous mission just a short few weeks ago have all now phoned home, so this is really great. So yes, a great year for them, and I'm sure that 2024 will be even better. Now, the Welsh Space scene also got a boost recently with a funding injection of £820,000 from the UK Space Agency, aimed at developing a space technology centre at Snowdonia Spaceport on the former Llanbedr airfield. I hope I pronounced that right. If not, leave a comment below. The centre is being developed in partnership with Newton Launch Systems, and much like Cornwall, Snowdonia is in a unique geographical position to allow for horizontal launches out over Cardigan Bay. New research and development infrastructure will be built at the site, including a new cleanroom, thermal vacuum test facility, centrifuge, and both 5 kN and 50 kN engine test platforms. That's all on the back of another £8 million worth of funding given to Cardiff-based Spaceforge to develop a national microgravity research centre. If you recall, Spaceforge had a test satellite flying on the ill-fated Virgin Orbit flight from Cornwall back in January of this year, which aimed to test in-space small-scale manufacturing. Overall, the confidence in the growing Welsh space scene is high, and this latest round of funding is testament to the commitment by the UK Space Agency to get it off the ground. Literally. Finally, we turn to India, with images being released this past week of ISRO's next generation launch vehicle, designed to succeed the existing LVM-3 rocket that took Chandrayaan-3 to the moon and Aditya L1 to Lagrange Point 1, which is now active and studying the sun. Yeah, it's basically a Falcon 9. So I guess NGLV stands for not gonna lie, it's a Falcon 9 variant. But, you know, if something works, be as well copy it. Really though, why wouldn't they? And in fact, if anyone is going to pull it off, I've no doubt that ISRO will. The Gaganyaan human space program is marching along really nicely, with tests of the crew capsule upcoming and full test missions scheduled for next year. But looking ahead to the future, they want to land a human on the moon by 2040, with further Chandrayaan successor missions in between. So, a partially or fully reusable system is the obvious choice to go for in these times, where SpaceX are making reliability and reusability look like child's play. After recent successes, India are pushing full steam ahead, and I can't wait to see what 2024 has in store for them. So, there we have it. And this will be my last video for 2023. Are you as excited as I am that Saxavord is now a fully fledged operational spaceport and ready for first launches in 2024? Drop a comment below and let me know. I want to thank you all so very much for your support this year, and honourable mentions on screen, including to my brand new Mission Controller level supporter, Okies from Patreon. In the meantime though, I have exciting news about an upcoming project that will only be getting shared on Patreon for now, so if you want in on the fun and want to support the channel itself, then head on over using the link below. Until next year, have yourselves an excellent Christmas, a happy new year. I've been Tom June, and I'll see you next time.